Bipolar is something that, in society is not really understood. When I've been manic, for instance, I've thought that I was Jesus Christ or the chosen one, and people don't really know what to do with that. The way to kind of help someone that's going through an episode of either mania or depression is just to be there and to be supportive. And you don't necessarily have to agree with everything they're saying, but it's important to kind of recognize that they're a human and to treat them with kindness and to give them support and love and gently guide them into how they can become the best version of themselves.
Sometimes there's a trigger that can cause a manic or depressive episode. A trigger can be anything. It can be a crush talking to you. It can be a video game you're obsessed with that you make money off. It can be literally anything. But the same stuff can also send you in a downward spiral. A manic episode, it's still manic depression. So you still can be down and low while you're in a heightened state. You still can be suicidal. You can still have those dark thoughts, but everything's racing at 1,000,000 miles per hour. And overall, it can be fun and enjoyable to be out of that depressive state that you've been stuck in for a while, and until things kind of can go a bit out of control, a bit pear-shaped.
Bipolar exists on a continuum. It doesn't exist out of nowhere. Things don't just happen randomly. There's triggers, there's instances where they can rise and fall over time. It exists not independently of other factors in your life. So while you can have days which are bright and sunny, you can also have days which are dark and stormy. But those days can also intermingle. And one of the things that people don't know is that those can also happen without people seeing them too.
What can be hard about bipolar is that you're often misunderstood. When I was young, when I went through my first episode, a lot of people pushed me aside and shunned me because they didn't understand me and what I was going through. And I lost a lot of friends when I was younger. And that can be quite hard on your soul because obviously extreme rejection from different people is quite hard to deal with. And what's also hard is that when you go through when you're in a depressive episode, you can be suicidal and not want to be in this world anymore. Even though I'm such a happy-go-lucky guy, I've experienced suicidal thoughts, and that's hard to deal with because you have to turn to people around you and ask for support to help you get through that stage. And then when you're in a manic episode, you're very happy and you make a lot of friends and you do a lot of cool stuff. But then when you come back down to earth, there's things that I've said to people that aren't necessarily things that I would have liked to have said. I think that people don't always realize that with when you're manic or depressed, it's not the best version of you, and you shouldn't be judged on that.
I often don't weigh up the consequences when I'm manic. I'll run straight into the fire, as someone put it. I have little fear when I'm manic. I come out here and it doesn't bother me at all. If I was depressed, you couldn't get me out of bed to come do this interview because I wouldn't have any motivation to do it. But I get a lot done when I'm manic, a lot done. It's a shame that, there's shackles put on me at times when my potential is limited.
One of the things that can be hard about bipolar, I've found, has been explaining it to people, and especially explaining it to friends and family. A lot of the time, they want to understand, and they try to understand, but because they're not fully immersed in the experience of bipolar, they don't. The onus is a lot of the time, unfortunately, on people with bipolar to talk about it because we don't want our story to get diluted over time or to get confused or sometimes neglected. Another thing that I found to be quite a struggle with the bipolar is medication as well. When I first was diagnosed with bipolar, I was very apprehensive of medication because another thing that people don't know about bipolar is that it can carry through families. And I had a sister that had bipolar 1 in the past. She unfortunately took her own life, and it affected my family in quite a devastating way. So I was very apprehensive to take medication because of seeing how she handled bipolar and seeing how in my childhood she struggled with it. After talking with a lot of people and talking to my psychologist, my psychiatrist, and talking with others in my life, I realized that it's better to be here than to not. and to be present than to not.
A lot of people, because they don't understand it, they get a lot of things wrong. I think a lot of the time people think that if you've been labelled with bipolar disorder, that you're kind of got a life sentence where you're kind of effed for life. And what I mean by that is that it's like you might not have the same opportunities, so you might not have the same capabilities, but people with bipolar are quite capable. If you look through history, many of our greatest leaders and creators and inventors have bipolar. So it's best not to assume that we're not capable, but rather to uphold the fact that we are strong and we are resilient.
It doesn't always have to be a low or high. You can also be at a baseline, which some people don't understand. Like there is a baseline, a happy medium you can reach to achieve happiness.